Almost exactly 10 years ago, Nvidia brought to the mainstream a $500 graphics card that revolutionized the way people thought about their computers. I remember when it was first announced, and I remember being awfully sad that there was no way that I could afford it. Today, I'm going to take a trip back in time and take a closer look at the 8800 GTX, the card that kicked off a renaissance in PC gaming. Now let me be clear, PC gaming had never gone away entirely. However, with the rise of powerful and accessible gaming consoles like Sony's PlayStation 3 and Microsoft Xbox 360 that now added in the ability to play Blu-ray or HD DVDs, the PC gaming market was in a definite decline. Compounding the issue was the fact that consoles were able to consistently hit frame rate targets for new games with graphics comparable to their PC counterparts, while PCs often struggled to keep up with the same games. Now, ideally, the solution to this problem would not have cost $500, which was more expensive than any gaming console at the time. However, Nvidia aimed really high with this product release, bringing to market the biggest card physically along with the biggest GPU transistor-wise that the world had ever seen in a commercially available product. The G80 GPU contains 686 million transistors using a 90 nanometer manufacturing process, both hallmarks of electrical engineering achievement at the time. When compared to modern cards like the GTX 1080, these specs seem kind of laughable, as the Pascal GTX 1080 is built on a 14 nanometer process and contains 7.2 billion transistors. But for 2006, the world had never seen anything like it. Additionally, the 8800 GTX featured 768 megs of memory, a core clock of 575 MHz, and 86.4 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth. Now, there was a version of this card that was clocked slightly higher and had a higher memory clock and memory bandwidth. The 8800 Ultra was the true king, but offered little real-world performance benefits over the GTX version. Plus, I couldn't get my hands on one in time to do this video, so there's also that. Now, what were people doing with their computers in 2006 that they needed a $500 graphics card to power? Well, they were playing games like Elder Scrolls Oblivion, Ghost Recon, and Company of Heroes. There was also this little game that came out in 2007 that you may still occasionally be asked if your system can run: Crysis. Crysis and its successors are still the benchmarks by which graphics card performance is measured. The game was such a resource hog that even the mighty 8800 GTX sometimes struggled to keep up. What I wanted to do today was have a little fun, throw back to 10 years ago, and compare the performance of an 8800 GTX running Crysis to today's most expensive mainstream GPU, the GTX 1080. Now, we're going to test the GTX 1080 on both Crysis and Crysis 3, but when we move up to Crysis 3, I'm going to add in a second GTX 1080 just to spice things up a little bit. This is by no means a scientific comparison. It's not necessarily meant to be that. It's just to have a little fun and see what this card can really do and did do back in the day. Alright, so I'm excited. This is my first time ever playing Crysis with an 8800 GTX. So let me just show you how we're running it right now. We have it on 1024 by 768. Now, the reason we have it on this is because in 2006, 2007, this was by far the most popular display resolution. So this is what we're going to run it at because that is the resolution that this card was designed to run games at. We will try it a little bit higher resolution in a minute, but for now, 1024 by 768. All right, let's try it on high. So you can see our fraps counter up in the upper left-hand corner. We are running at 54 frames per second. Well, it's changing rapidly, but so low 50s right now. And I think that this game running at 50 frames per second for the time that it came out using hardware that it was designed to run on is pretty good. Clearly, modern hardware would run this better, but at the same time, I mean, this game is 10 years old, and we can't really. I'm anticipating there might actually be some hardware compatibility issues. Not that it won't work, but if we run it on, say, like a GTX 1080, which we're going to, this game is not. I don't think this game would be optimized. I don't think the GTX 1080 will have drivers that are gonna be optimized to run this game. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes when we get this up and running on a 1080. But as you can see, I mean, it looks okay. Like, I think that running at 1024 by 768 is pretty low resolution. I mean, just from a standpoint of, you know, this is not what we're used to anymore. Oh, here's a dude. Let's go. Let's be all stealthy. How about that? Oh, he just. Where are you? Come back here. Did I get you? No, I didn't get you. Now I'm uncloaked. Okay, so I am playing this game. Wow, I'm gonna die. Oh my god. Alright, so I am playing this game through OBS, I'm playing it on my main system in the window that OBS is giving me. So it is very wonky, the controls are super laggy, and I am sorry that my gameplay is going to be terrible. But I just wanted to kind of get... Ooh, barrel destruction. I just wanted to give you an example of how this game runs on the hardware of the era. And I'm definitely very almost dead, and I'm dead. All right, so what I want to do is actually want to try it with a little bit higher resolution, see how it looks. So I think the next big jump in resolution from 1024-768 was 1400 by 900, which is not here. Okay. Why don't we try this? So that looks a lot better, a lot clearer to me. Let's see how it looks in game. Yeah, you could definitely see that this makes a big difference upping the resolution like this. How much better everything looks. Still relative though. I mean, still a very low resolution compared to what we are used to currently. But I bet there are a lot of people in my audience who have never played a game at this kind of resolution before. Whereas this used to be as good as it gets. Alright, so, like I said, very difficult for me to play in these conditions, but I just wanted to give you a taste. So, let's move over to the GTX 1080 system I have set up, and we'll see how everything runs there. Alright, so let's check out the performance on a GTX 1080. Now, as you can see, I do have this installed in my main system, which has two of them, but I am under the impression that only one of them will actually be utilized. If for some reason both of these start boosting and I see the power limit goes up, then I'll duck out of here and I will disable SLI. But right now you can see that we're running at no power basically. Still, I don't know, this is getting a little warm, but there's no boost happening right here. 1607 is the base for these cards. And we're running actually not as high of a frame rate as I thought. I'll show you the settings that I have this on right now. I actually boosted it up to the highest that it would go and still look normal on my screen. The highest resolution that this game actually can be played in is 1600 by 1200. And that looks wonky on my screen. It looks all stretched out. So 1600 by 900 is the right aspect ratio. But that's as high as I go. I can't go any more than that. I'd like to try to play this at 4K, but unfortunately that's not available. I will try to play it at 1024 by 768 just for apples to apples comparison, which should be pretty funny, I suppose. But for now, let's just run it through at 1600 by 900 and see what kind of frame rates we get. Oh, and we are on, everything is maxed out, everything very high. So if you take a look up at my GPU clocks, you can see that they're not boosting at all. I guess this game is not putting any kind of a load in any way on either of the GPUs. So only 131 frames per second. I actually anticipated that it would be more, but at the same time, maybe there's just like a severe lack of optimization going on, and as a result, we only get, you know, really good frame rates as opposed to crazy, absurd frame rates. This game still looks pretty good. Hey, there you are. So I'm not in any way playing this to be very stealthy or anything like that. I just want to experience what the frame rate is like and what the gameplay is like on a more modern GPU. Like I said, it's running not as good as I thought it might be. Let's try switching it up. We're at 100 and, oh, you know, we're over 100 frames per second, but not by much. Let's see what happens when we put it at the native resolution, I suppose, the regular resolution that this game was supposed to be played at. See, this comes up all letterboxed, and it doesn't look nearly as good. But yeah, not even any boost in frame rate. So yeah, this is just an optimization issue with this game, and I think that just because it's so old that obviously the developers have stopped working on it and drivers aren't really updated for it and everything like that. So I mean, this is probably as good as it's gonna get. 160, but yeah, you know, 130 frames per second or so average. Alright. Whee! Alright, time to bail out of here. Alright, so this is Crysis 3, and I figured I'd just boot this up on my main system just to compare how far we've come in the past 10 years as far as graphics quality. Now you can see that I am running this in SLI. Both cards are boosting. Both cards are at a significantly higher power than they were when I was running Crysis 1, and they're also running a lot warmer. But the frame rate is good. Frame rate's above 60, and I am actually playing this at 4K with a very high system spec. So that means everything is down very high. So this is basically maxed out, but you can see how demanding this is because this is a game that is optimized for SLI, optimized for use with 1080s, so drivers are written correctly for it, and we're running 2 of them and the frame rate's only 60. So as we get into the game here, I mean, this looks amazing. I am getting a good amount of screen tearing going on, which is clearly not the game's fault, it's the monitor's fault. And I think I had mentioned this in a previous video that unfortunately, ever since I switched over to two 1080s from the two 980 Ti's I had before, I had significant increase in screen tearing, and it's really making the games distracting to play. I'm going to have to upgrade my monitor. I really like this monitor for editing. Just 4K is great for the amount of screen real estate you get. Your timelines can be really nice and long, but at the same time, it's really, whenever I find some time to play a game, it looks bad. So I'm actually not even paying attention as far as what I'm supposed to be doing here, so maybe I should just run around a little bit and see what happens. Oh, okay, I guess I follow that guy. But yeah, this looks amazing.
I have to say, getting my hands on an 8800 GTX, even 10 years later, is a weird thrill. I'm glad now to be in a position where I have access to lots of fantastic PC hardware, but 20-something-year-old Brian had little money and no real industry connections to speak of. Getting to test this card now and compare it to the cream of the crop, even if it's not a perfectly scientific apples-to-apples comparison, is a ton of fun. And you know what? At $30, I consider this to be a huge bargain. Not necessarily because I need it for a project, but because the nostalgia is real.
This is going to be going up on my display shelf that's right over there, and it's going to be sitting next to my Motorola Droid for probably the next 10 years. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you had a little bit of fun as I did, and I'll see you in the next one.